Are you okay? Did you watch Dungeons and Dragons?
Oh, we watched it, baby.
It's weird because I went back to it. So I watched like the first hour and then I was like, I'll finish it in the morning so that we don't interrupt each other. And then I went back to it this morning. It was at the same spot.
Was it the exact same spot? I tried to get
you
it back
did
to
that.
Yeah, I
Oh.
tried to get it back to where you were.
I mean, I think it was close enough.
I wrote down your time code and everything.
Oh, Tony. How sweet.
Hey, watch him with Dan and Tony. Hey, watch him with Dan and Tony. It's Hey Watching, yeah.
Welcome to Hate Watching with Dan and Tony. We're recording an hour earlier today, so I will be even more whatever it is that I would be an hour earlier.
That's a great question. Does your energy wane through the day, or do you kind of pick up steam as you go?
I never have. I don't ever get any steam.
So what you're saying is there's no difference. We could record this any of the 24 hours and it would be identical energy.
Well, except after 9 o'clock, then I'd be asleep.
Okay, and then so from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. you're asleep, and then you're back in the saddle.
Pretty much. I got up at 5:45 today.
Wow, that's
of my own volition.
Right? That's not even my fault.
Not your fault. So this Hate Watching with Dan and Tony. I'm Dan.
And I'm Tony.
That's the old T-Bone. And we like to watch movies. And so we separately watch movies because we're never allowed to see each other. And then we have this special little time carved out on Saturdays, which is then put on the internet on Wednesdays, where we share our thoughts about a movie that was made in the past. And
I think that's the most in-depth timeline you've ever given on the podcast. That's nice. That's a real A to Z scenario there, guys. Welcome to the pod.
This week we're doing Tony's pick, Dungeons and Dragons, a movie that I'd completely forgotten even existed from 2000.
I did not know that it existed, which is very strange, and we'll talk about it a little bit more later. I'm surprised that I missed this.
I cannot figure out if I've seen this movie before. Because I remember when you said we're going to do this, I was like, I feel like I've seen this movie, and I remember there's one part where there's like a dungeon that felt very Dungeons and Dragon-y, which this movie has, the one dungeon-y sort of part. And then I was kind of watching it, and I was like, man, I feel like I've seen this. But then the rest of the movie, I feel like I haven't seen.
Had never seen it. Okay.
So
I guess do you remember Snails? Because I feel like that's the nail in the coffin. If you don't remember Snails, you never saw the movie.
I do not remember Snails. Thank God.
Good. Snails is going to stick with me for a while.
That thing just sort of creeping around, mind flaring in your brain.
Nice, very nice.
This movie, so Dungeons and Dragons 2000. We had the cartoon in 1983 to 85, which I
totally missed, which is a bummer. I'm gonna have to. Can I find it somewhere? I'd like to go back and watch it.
I have no idea if I assume you can find it somewhere. It's kind of fun. I remember watching it. I guess I don't know if I was a kid. 83. That would have put me at like 18. So I wasn't a kid.
Yeah, but you're like a fully formed adult.
Yeah, so we'd already been playing D&D for 6 years. So it was a little disappointing to me, as I remember, and I watched it a little bit.
Sure, yeah, you're not really the demographic though for that, probably.
Yes, it was a little more pitched towards kids. Willie Ames as one of the big voices. Also, Don Most, who I assume is Donnie Most from Happy Days. You don't know who that is. Have you ever seen Happy Days?
I feel like I probably saw it as a kid, like in reruns with my mom or something. So but I couldn't tell you anyone other than the Fonts.
You couldn't tell me about Potsy and
no,
Ralph.
That sounds familiar though.
Richie's
a name that I feel like I've heard.
That's
Ron, all I got, Dan.
It's Ron Howard's character.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. So this movie and then we have a big blockbuster Dungeons and Dragons movie, which is just finished filming, which may or may not come out in 2023, depending on what COVID decides. Or ever.
Who knows?
With Chris Pine as probably not the thief.
Yeah, we'll get into the character archetypes at some point. But let's just really quickly state that Chris Pine, top 2 of the Chris's.
What do you mean? What? Who's
the Hollywood Chris's? You don't have the Chris debate?
What? Chris Evans?
Evans, Hemsworth, Galaxy, Guardians of the Galaxy. What's his name? Chris Pratt.
Pratt,
who's obviously the bottom of the barrel, and then
he's the bottom of the barrel.
Who's your bottom? Okay, let's do the Chris's. Let's see. Who are your 4 Chris's? Top 4. Let's go.
Chris Evans is number 1.
I think that's a given. I feel I agree 100%.
I'd put Thor at number 2.
Yeah, see, I don't. I put Pine right at number 2, and then 3 I put Hemsworth for sure.
What is Pine's bestest role?
I mean, I love Star Trek is phenomenal, but he's great in Enchanted as well. Oh, I love that. Hell or High Water, so good. I'm a big fan. You should probably watch Hell or High Water. Him and Jeff Bridges are pretty great. Yeah.
It's a movie. Okay.
Yeah, it was like a big budget indie, we'll call it. Beautiful Western.
2 things that aren't the same. Okay.
I know. Well, it's hard. The indies today are very different because they have a lot of money for being an independent film.
This movie, Dungeons & Dragons, was the most expensive independent film ever made.
Which is not great for independent films.
Did you read the Wikipedia page for this film?
Yeah, I don't read.
But did you look at it? Did you look at it?
No, I did not.
It's the weirdest Wikipedia page. It feels like the guy that directed this movie wrote the whole thing. Because there's just like all these bits of information that you're like, how would you get this in? I mean, either he wrote it or he conducted a series of interviews and the person who conducted those series of interviews
together.
Yes, because there's just like
no, he definitely wrote it. Whoever directed this movie definitely like sat down on a Wednesday and was just like, I'm gonna make this sound great. Here's a great story you guys don't know.
Because the whole tale of this movie is the guy that directed it, like he's the major player in the whole thing and spent 10 years getting it made, like from the day he was like a college student. And then he like went on a tour of Europe getting money, and then at different times had like James Cameron signed on to direct. And at one point it was going to be 100 million, and then it dropped down to 3.5 million, and then Joel Silver got involved, and it was 30 million, and then it was 35 million.
Oh my God!
It's this weird.
What happened to all these great directors?
They fled in terror, and you were left with this poor slob who did it and it did just a terrible job.
Can you imagine a James Cameron Dungeons and Dragon movie? That would be incredible.
It would be something.
It would be something.
It certainly wouldn't suffer from what this poor movie suffers from, which is a lot of things.
Yeah, it's a long list.
What would you say is the weakest point of this movie, Tony?
Are we going macro or micro? On a micro level, Thora Birch is probably the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. I don't even know how she was almost a thing. I mean, she, didn't work out, but just based on this performance alone, if you're listening on a pod, I did air quotes around performance because this is hot trash.
Oh, you hated her.
I almost didn't hate her because she's nothing. She's so nothing in this movie. It was hard for me to muster feelings, but I did because she's hot garbage in this movie. She's not trying at all. I'm not even sure if she knows her lines. It would not surprise me if there was someone with cue cards standing off to the side and she's just reading them on the day for the very first time. There is no emotion in her face, her voice, nothing. It's horrible.
And that pairs really well with Jeremy Irons as the bad mage,
which is just like 150%. This is the hardest I think I've ever seen Jeremy Irons go, and I don't know if I'm happy about it, but at least it's something. At least he's giving me something to watch.
He like basically loses his mind in every scene.
100%.
Just like goes off.
It's wild. It's worth watching this movie just for that performance, I think.
Well, you went micro. I'm going macro. The soundtrack plus the music. I don't know. I was watching this
Yeah.
movie on headphones, and there were a lot of times I couldn't understand anything Jeremy Irons was saying.
Sometimes you can't even hear the people talking because the mix is so bad. This is the first time I think ever in my life I've been glad that we do the subtitles, because I was like, I don't even know what we're talking about right now. The mouths are moving, but all I hear is like loud noises everywhere.
And this movie has this thing that I just loved, because it's so terrible. And I will say about, this movie is probably one of those movies you could watch comedically. There's so much
Definitely.
weird going on in this movie.
100%.
You could watch this and totally Rocky Horror the hell out of it, which is another sub thing which we're going to get to, how the Rocky Horror connection. Do you know the Rocky Horror connection?
I sure don't.
Oh, you're going to learn about it.
Oh, please.
So they always are if they're in the dungeon, there will be people screaming in pain in the background, no, or everywhere they're going to figure out what second, birds if they're outside, or people eating food if they're in the tavern. It's the weirdest mix ever. And then of course the music is just terrible. And I was like, if you put real music on this movie, it would be a lot better.
I mean, it would certainly be more fun.
Yeah.
Because it gives you, the music in a movie gives you something to connect to, even if the movie itself isn't giving you anything. And I would argue this movie does give me plenty of things to enjoy. Not maybe in the way that they intended, but I did enjoy myself.
So we set up that there's a evil mage, and then there's a good empress. I wrote down the name of Jeremy Irons' character 20 times, and it's Profion, I think.
Yeah, something. That sounds right.
So immediately
Morpheus.
We start with this tracking shot, and we go underground, and he's got this thing, and he's making a magical rod that's going to control dragons.
I mean, we fly through Westeros, basically. That's how good this movie looks. It's incredible.
Oh, you mean you liked it?
No, Dan. Here's what blows my mind. Just for the first 8 seconds of the movie. First of all, there's just smoke for five minutes. I think there's just smoke over the voiceover. They don't even write the words on the smoke. I was waiting for the words to pop up on the smoke, but it's just a black screen with a fake smoke effect for the whole voiceover. And then we fly through the worst CGI'd Westeros I've ever seen in my life. And what blows my mind, Dan, is that Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, comes out 1 year later.
Oh, it did? Okay, yeah.
And the difference between those, I want to just put them side by side just to see an establishing shot of how crazy different they look.
Well, this movie, so we have a lot of Hercules, Xena sort of special effects, and that's what this movie really should have. It feels more like a made-for-TV movie,
which is interesting. Did you know the sequel was a made-for-TV movie?
Yeah,
so
because
makes sense.
That's where these should have been. It should just be like a made-for-TV movie, but
like a sci-fi channel.
Yeah, and they shot it in the Czech Republic, so it cost 1/5 the amount to shoot, and some of the Czech Republic settings are kind of nice. You're like, oh, okay, okay. So we go down there. Here's Jeremy Irons. He zaps a wand. There's all these skulls sort of placed everywhere, and then he calls out they let go of the red dragon, and it comes out there, and he's kind of controlling it, and then he's kind of not controlling it, and then it
breaks the gem. I honestly couldn't quite follow the mind control of the dragon things. What is the scepter that he found?
I mean that he was
at the beginning there. He was making one.
He was making one.
That's why he was sending his weird.
That's why he
electric. This is a great place to start talking about the magic real quick, Dan. Yeah. So I think it was last week. I think that you talked about the different kinds of magic, one being a controlled and then one just being chaos. Yep. And this movie falls heavily in the chaos. They are able to conjure different spells with the same dust. She throws dust at one point and it's electrical powers, and then she throws it at a different point and it creates a portal. Yep. And I was like, how can the same dust do totally different things? I don't understand the magic in this movie.
Yes. And I mean, whatever you want to say about Willow, it's like we've given you 3 magic acorns that turns people to stone. You have 3 magic acorns. We're going to use up those acorns. And of course, they cut out one scene where they gave them.
Yeah, they did their best.
Acorn 2 was cut out of the movie, or Acorn 1 was cut out of the movie. And I mean, and it's also set up when you got the acorns, you weren't even quite sure if they were going to work at all.
But that's, and then they kind of didn't. That's why they only kept those 2 in the movie, because the one that worked is like, oh wait, they work? Better to keep it very ambiguous.
Yes, the one that works is the first one, and then they cut that out, so then you're even more confused because he just drops them on the ground and then whatever. So this magic, it's just whenever we need something magical to happen, it's going to arbitrarily happen in an arbitrary way. At the end, we do a portals thing where they both go through the same portal, and then the one guy comes out of a different portal at a later time.
Oh yeah, no, I was very upset when this happened, because they go in at the same time. He follows him in, and then he appears 5 minutes later. I'm not even sure it's the same place. Is it the same place? Did you double check?
Yes.
Okay, so the same place, just minutes later. The portal even closes and then reopens, but the portal on the other side just was open the whole time. Doesn't make any sense.
Yes. So we don't set up that the magic. Oh, one last. So we don't set up that the magic user's the person that creates portals and can also shoot beams every once in a while, but I only have 3 beams. It's like, no, she might see a bag laying on the floor that someone has stolen that knows that it's magic, and then she knows it's magic somehow.
Yeah, the magic calls to her.
So the other whole weird setup is that the magic users kind of control things, but they don't really control things. They sort of control something, and then the Empress sort of controls something, and we're not quite sure what the thing she controls.
The power dynamic is extremely confusing, because they set it up. I believe they use the word slaves. That like the common people are slaves to the mages. I never saw that. It just looks like a class system where the mages are like, the rich, and then the common people are the poor people. It was never like nobody seemed to be controlling them. They were out. The 2 kids are just kind of out and about watching maybe a fireworks show. I don't know what's going on with the fire castle, but they were never like underneath anyone. They were just doing their own thing. They're thieves. I mean, they're having a great time. They're walking around. They're stealing stuff. They're making jokes. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And so we set up this commoners versus magic users, and then we really don't ever see that played out. We don't understand who the Empress controls, because the mages like vote to have her give up her rod, but she just like, I'm not giving up my rod. And you're like, well,
also,
why don't they just take it from her?
Well, she's a tiny child that seemingly has no ability to do anything. So you could literally just walk up and be like, I'm gonna take this now. And she'd be like, no, please don't. And then that's it. She's done.
You'd think she'd have like a retinue of guards or something if she was actually in control of the city in some format, but we don't see anything like that.
And I also didn't get the sense that she is in control, because she's trying to banish the class system, right? That's like her ultimate goal for unknown reasons. And it's not working. I have no idea what her job is as an empress.
And then we also have a mages school, which the mages aren't in control of the mages school. Some other dude is in charge of the mages school.
Also, what is it, a school? There's only 2 people in the school when we go there. So,
enrollment was kind of low this year.
Yeah. Okay.
They voted against any new apprentices, right? Because they didn't.
Yes,
they didn't
Willow.
Do the thing right.
No apprentice this year.
So, we also had Mr. Blue Lips, is like Tramadol, Mr. Dramadar, whatever his name is. And man, this poor dude gets a lot of screen time.
So much, and he spends at least half of it whispering for reasons unbeknownst to me. When when he's supposed to get heated and passionate and like, I'm gonna get you, he's like, I'm gonna get you. I was like, do something. Give me a little oomph. You're the bad guy. Also, his blue lips seem to change multiple times throughout the movie.
They are electric blue. They are pale blue. They just blue all over the place.
Different sizes. Like part of his lip is covered. All of his lip. It goes to his nose at one point. probably not. I'm embellishing, but they did not take continuity photos. That's all I'm saying.
No lip gloss continuity. So the dragon dies, and then we get this great blood's eye view of the blood flowing down, and then it flows down the stairs, and then it hits the river.
Great?
I have a few favorite things in this movie. That was one of them, was because it was so weird. You're just like, this is so weird.
You're right about that.
Then the blood hits the water and lights on fire, and then the fire like engulfs the whole river, and everybody's like standing there going like, "Ooh, look at the fire!"
Right? Yeah, it's as if it's like a show that happens all the time. Where even are they? Like who? Why are there so many people gathered around this weird cavern that Jeremy Irons is in? I don't understand anything.
No, the river, the city's river is there, and then the cavern is off the river. And so the city's right there on the side of the river.
So you're saying it just spread so far that everybody saw it?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Oh, no, it spread out into the main river. Yeah, they were on like the riverbank.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really
So why
weird.
does it set fire? If you can explain to me the laws of...
I was thinking about it, and then I realized, well, they're red dragons, so they're fire breathers, so it's not surprising that their blood is flammable.
Water?
Why it would light on fire?
Why is the water the catalyst to set it on fire? Because it's blood mixes with H2O and it bursts into flames.
Well, like oil, it would probably like just sit on the top of the water, and then if you were to light it, it would go off. But they just wanted a big effect.
That part. They just skipped that part. They're like, it just lights. Don't worry about it.
So we meet our two guys.
Our two heroes.
I wrote Damon when really it's Marlon. So there's the one kid, Ridley, and then there's Snails, played by Marlon Wayans. They're two thieves. They decide tonight's the night to jack the magic school because everyone's going to be watching the fire. Okay.
I mean, I guess. Maybe that's why the school's empty. They all left and they're like, fire!
Yeah, I mean, it'd make more sense if they did it like while, Mage Council was in council. But whatever. They had a line that explained it at least.
That's right. Listen, whether you buy it or not, it's in there. All right? So you just have to go along.
There's at least some explanation. So now's the point where Tony's going to talk about Marlon's performance.
I mean, I would call this one a performance because it's not quite acting. You know what I mean? Like, he's not a human, for sure.
No.
He, for whatever reason, I don't know, I guess this is probably after all of, like, Eddie Murphy's big stuff, but I feel like he's trying to embody that type of character, like the manic. He goes into his upper register too much.
That's what I'm going to say.
You know what I mean?
The Fifth Element came out in 1997.
Oh, a little Chris.
That's what I felt like he was doing.
The upper register.
Yeah, he was doing Chris. What's his name?
Tucker.
Chris Tucker.
Yeah, because he does. Now that you say that, you're absolutely right. He uses that high register, but he doesn't know how to use it. Like, he doesn't know how to inflect in the higher register. It's just one piercing note. And I was losing my mind. The one scene where he's telling, hey, we're going on the quest. And Waynes is like, we're going on the quest. I don't want to go on the quest. You're crazy. He does an entire 4-minute scene in that upper register and just babbles. And I just, please cut away. You need to cut away from this, right? Just make this a short scene where it's like, hey, we're going on the adventure. And he'd be like, what? And then we're done. That's all I want. He was so annoying. And I feel bad saying that because I think I like the Wayans brothers in general, but it was not okay.
He was doing somebody else's bit and didn't know how to do that bit. And the comedy was just so broad and so like he was a simpleton. He could easily be manipulated. He was an idiot. And it's like, there was like one point where there was a little bit of heart and then he bumps his head. And it's like, if
that was a weird scene though.
It didn't work, but you were like, I see what it could have been.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. At the hands of somebody who was, acting and being a character.
And then we do a council thing about voting to take her scepter. Ugh.
Wait, Dan, real quick, to stay on the two great heroes of the film.
Yeah.
Who is Ridley? Do
He's
we know him?
What do you mean?
No, as like an actor. I have
dude?
no idea who this kid is.
I have no idea who that dude is.
How is he the lead of this movie? I don't know. I don't mean that in like a... I mean, I guess I do. I do mean it in a mean way. I'm not going to pull my punches. He's not good. He's not a good actor.
Not really.
He's not that cute. In my opinion, he's a weird-looking dude. I don't know how he got the lead of a giant fantasy movie. I have no idea.
You got to pick somebody.
But you should pick somebody that has chemistry, maybe with Marlon Wayans, because their interplay in the whole movie is garbage. I mean, it definitely is both their faults. Neither of them are doing a very good job, but their friendship never feels real to me. And that right away, that's the whole movie. I'm out.
Well, I mean, that's the whole thing is that this dude sort of put this whole movie together, and then they didn't have anyone direct it. And so they were like, well, you could just direct it. And so he's like, I guess. You know, it's like, what if you were to do something and you had no skills to do said thing? You know, I mean, that's, you know, we did lots of comedy classes, and slowly you sort of learn what directing is by watching a lot of things and figuring out what it is you want to have happen. If you don't know what it is you want to have happen, you're just going to be like, okay, do a fight scene, do a this, do a that.
Dan, I would be okay with this conceit if they picked a random guy off the street to direct it. You said this guy's been working on it for 10 years. If he doesn't know what he wants to see at this point, he deserves a slap in the face.
But he doesn't know. He just knows because he wrote the script. You know, he just knows what he sort of wants, which is like, oh, we're going to see a Beholder. We're going to see a this. We're going to see a that. And like all those things are sort of here. It's just that they don't mean anything because everything's sort of arbitrary.
Yeah.
So we meet the Empress. She's dumb. And then this other dude says that we have to find... She can control gold dragons with the rod she has. And then there's also a rod that controls red dragons. And so she's like... This guy's like, oh, you need that one too. Which, of course, if... Essentially, she sets off a trail that leads the bad guy to be able to control red dragons. If they hadn't started any of this... You'd
be fine.
You'd have had nothing happen. She'd have been in charge. She'd have the gold dragons, and
because he can't make the gem. He tried at the beginning, couldn't do it. That's it. That's the end of the movie. That should just be all right. We're done. We still got the gold dragons. We're good.
So it's basically this classic unforced error where she sets the path off towards her own possible destruction.
Demise. Well, I wish that the movie ended differently.
So now Jeremy Irons knows because his monster was there listening. And so
his little pixie winged guy. Yes. I liked him.
So basically, there's a scroll which is going to lead you to this dragon's orb, which is going to lead you to the rod. That's the sort of MacGuffin path that we have to follow.
Can we just talk real quickly about how often they say rod in this movie, and it made me laugh almost every time?
It did make me laugh because it's a classic D&D magic item.
Sure, but like they just kept saying things like "Give me the rod" and "I need the rod," and I was just like, I can't take it seriously. I'm sorry. I'm infantile, but it made me laugh every time.
I did write down Damon screams like a girl. So they climb up the wall. They get to the mage's school. They start stealing stuff. We meet the other girl, the magic user girl. She comes in on them, and then she immediately like immobilizes them.
Yeah, I missed it. I'm watching the movie.
Yeah.
She walks in on them. I write a note. I look up and they're in a rope, and I was like, wait, what did I miss? What happened? How did they get captive all of a sudden?
She just cast a spell of folding. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. You know, because any spell, anytime. That's the general rule of this movie.
And it's really great because they have to be side by side so they can act towards her. So the rope is there. And then if they turn it all, the rope like goes and goes down. So they could it's just so, you know, it's sort of sad. One thing I did like was that she was connected to them via the rope.
Yeah, so when she went, she was basically pulling them along. It was interesting. It didn't seem like she was putting in any effort to that, so I wasn't sure of the inertia of the whole thing, but it's cool. It's cool.
Let it go. So the bad guy, Dromedar, shows up, Blue Lips, and he's like, give me the scroll, and then she gets the scroll, and then she runs away, and she ports out, and then he can port too, which is like literally the most absurd thing.
Yeah. Because magic means nothing in this world. Everyone can do it as far as I can tell.
Yes. They get the scroll. He ports out. So they port, and then they run into this dwarf, and then things just get weird.
Things get weird. Wow. But can I just say something? Library mage.
Marina.
That's what barista.
Marina.
When she is in the library, she's
got
like
hot glasses on. Yeah.
She's like the classic. She's like, oh, I'm a librarian. I'm a nerd. She's like, her hair's all done up. She's got glasses. She's wearing like a mousy outfit. When she portals, where do the glasses go? She's like, all of a sudden, she's like this. Oh, she lets her hair down and she's got no glasses. She's like, all right, I'm good to go on this sexy adventure all of a sudden. I didn't understand it. One, she looked way better with the glasses. It just fits her face better, in my opinion. But it was I just didn't understand why she had glasses. She portals, no more glasses. The rest of the movie. What happened?
Had to de-nerd her quick because I don't know. Maybe they lost that pair of glasses and they're like,
they only had one pair and they're like, well, we don't have enough money for another pair. Just go with it.
Okay, so there's like this weird sort of fight, but they shoot the horn off of the dwarf's helmet, and the dwarf sort of fights, and then they all run away, and then the dwarf jumps down this hole, and then they all go to the sewer.
Yeah, which it wasn't a hole. I didn't think it was a hole. I thought it was where he lived. I thought it was like his little street hut, and then they all jumped in, and all of a sudden they're in water. And I was like, wait, what's happening right now? Did they portal again? I don't understand.
So immediately in the next scene, they're not in the sewer. They're up above ground again, watching what's happening.
It would only be better to me if she had glasses again all of a sudden. Like, I wish every time they portaled, her glasses would like appear and disappear. That would be a great gag for the movie.
So now Jeremy's mad at Dromedar, and so he puts a mind flayer supposedly in his. We don't ever learn it's a mind flayer, but I guess it's a mind flayer in his brain.
Is it?
It's supposed to be a mind flayer.
This is, to be honest, I think this is the best special effects that they do. I don't understand it, but they use some practical effects, it looks like, on his head a little bit. And I thought it looked good. But I didn't understand.
The makeup on his head?
Yeah. Like they do the red, the red makeup, so you know that his head is in trouble, which I think is good.
Like, thumbs up. So we have Norda, who's the elf. She's tracking them. So we have another.
I didn't understand her.
What did you understand?
Full stop. I don't know what she's doing. I'm not totally sure why she's following them.
She's working for the Empress.
Did they say that?
Mm-hmm.
I totally
the Empress is like,
it.
Send my greatest tracker, Norda, to follow them and find out what the hell is going on. There's something. Okay. There's some scene where we're introduced.
See, now if you would have delivered that line, I might have listened because I was engaged. I think anytime Thora Birch is on screen, I just shut down. I was like, "What is happening?"
I was talking to my buddy Todd about this movie, and I was like, "Yeah, I think Bella Thorne was in it." And I'm like, he's like, Bella Thorne? It's Thora Birch, not Bella Thorne. Who the hell is Bella Thorne? Who is that?
She's in The Babysitter, which is one of my favorite movies of the last 5 years.
Tony.
All right, get out of here.
Okay, now we go to the bar. There's a couple of nice monster costumes in there, which we never get to deal with. They just walk by in passing.
This is a great. Let's take a beat from this great movie and talk about the characters that they use and they don't use. Okay. And whether or not any of them are actually different or have personalities. So here's my thing. Why we have mages, like blanket mages.
Which just do random mage stuff when they want to.
Right. So there's no factions of mages. There's no like white magic, black magic. It's just mage. You can do anything you want at any time. Then there's, I guess, humans. But are they all thieves? I don't really know. We don't really meet a lot of humans, but we also don't meet anything else. Like we get an elf, which is
tracker.
fine. Yeah, she can track things,
Probably
I guess.
Ranger.
Is she? She doesn't do anything else other than track, really.
She's probably
right?
an elf ranger. No one ever pulls out a bow in this movie.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's
insane.
not. She's not. But then we don't really have any other cool characters in our lead party.
Well, part of the big problem is we have two thieves, and the thief is the hero.
We have two thief friends. One of them should be not human. Just my opinion. Even if they're both thieves, one of them should not be a human. It should be some other creature from the realm. Because this is boring. This is just a regular movie. To me, it's not Dungeons and Dragons. Yes, there's dragons, sort of. They look terrible.
Yeah, I mean, your problem is your leader of your party is a thief. And you don't typically want to have the thief as the leader of your party unless all you're doing is thieving. I mean, my main D&D character was a thief, and he always ran the party like everyone was a thief, even though all the other party members weren't thieves.
They weren't.
Like we always, we never went in the front door. We always did things very thieviness.
And I'm always a warrior.
See?
Always.
And
I like the brute strength, the brawn, I'll go in first. I'll enter that door and I'll check that shit out, guys.
And it'll be interesting to see with the new movie if they make Chris Pine a thief or if they make him something a little more valorous.
Interesting.
So that you sort of actually push the thing forward a little more. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like we love the thief, but we want the thief to sort of have to sort of give up his thieviness ways, which they sort of do.
Which I make a note of that because once Snails dies, spoiler alert, guys, Snails dies. And he enters at the end, he like enters that gold room and he like picks it up and he looks at it and he's like, I'm no longer a thief. Sorry, Snails, and puts it down. And I was like, when did he turn? Is this the moment? Like, this isn't anything.
Well, we'll talk about that. And also, you can't change who you are in Dungeons and Dragons. If you're a thief, you're a thief. Period. Boom.
For sure.
You can maybe change alignment. Maybe.
And all I will say is, if you're not George Clooney, you can't be a thief and win my heart. Ocean's 11 is a nice flag post of how to do a good thief.
So they're there. They've got the map or whatever it is, and then he says, "My uncle used to say blah 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 blah, and it used to do something with a map just like this." And then he disappears in the map, and then she's like, "Whoa, blah 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 blah," and she's in the map, and we see them sort of ghostly forms in the map.
Yeah, which
what? I don't understand any of that.
I don't understand either. Where did they go? And why did we not go with them?
I have no idea.
Like, why didn't we transport to wherever they're going? So I at least understand it. Right now, they're just on the map. It's so dumb.
So then Snails sees the hot tracker. He goes down and hits on her, which is kind of strange that she's not like watching them, which is what she's doing. She's instead just like...
supposedly her job.
And so the bad guy shows up. We have a bar fight, whatever. And then once again, Wadati, Wadazoo, they're in the wilderness.
I wish that they did these silly sayings when they did their magic. That would be way better. And
then Snails takes the map and goes blah da blee, blah da blue differently, randomly.
He says the wrong words. And I think it's a joke because that's the word that main guy uses the first time and it doesn't work. And then he's like, oh, wait, it's this word. And then it does work. And then a minute later, you got Wayne's doing only that word 3 times and it works? Come on, guys.
And then they pop out of the map and then they know everything they need to know. And then...
Yeah, I'm imagining there was someone of vast knowledge inside the map that we never get to meet.
And then Ridley's like, yep, we got to do this. You're like, wait, what?
I've already agreed to it, so let's go. Dude, I have no idea.
And then the dwarf's like, where's my money? And of course, they're like, we'll give you money later. And he's like, sounds good to me. Right. Except he doesn't say sounds good to me. He just follows along.
Yep, just looks and then he goes.
And they've got the elf tracker. Now we go to another town because we have to. Sorry, I left this out. We have to go to the Thieves Guild, and then they have the Eye of the Dragon. So there's like a purple guy. They go down there and they meet the King of the Thieves, and the King of the Thieves is Riff Raff / the guy who wrote and created Rocky Horror Picture Show, the bald guy. That is Richard O'Brien.
Oh,
that is
really?
Richard frickin' O'Brien.
I did not pick up on that.
I saw him and I was like, is that Richard O'Brien? How can that be Richard O'Brien? I can't believe this. And he's doing like this sort of weird voice, and I was like, that can't be him. Yeah. And I looked it up. It's him.
And it was. Wow. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah. So the thief guy has to go through the maze of Antius, the Antius Guild maze, and if he finishes it, he can get the Eye of the Dragon. Orb of the Dragon.
Listen, it's a pretty easy maze. I don't know why no one else has done it.
I mean, and it's they run it like it's American Ninja Warrior. Everybody's watching.
Yeah. Yeah, it's because you're like down and they're all up at top behind a cage safely, at a distance so the fire doesn't get them. Let's talk about the fire trap real quickly. Well, I thought it was
the swinging axis first. I like the swinging axis. I really like
and that. He nice. Jumps on it somehow and then jumps like 4 more times. I didn't understand where all the axes were.
There were only 2, but he kept he did it 4 times.
He jumped a bunch of times.
Had to make it more exciting. I like that. It's very Super Mario.
Yeah. It was cool. And then the fire trap, which is the Indiana Jones, the pressure point plates that you step on, and then fire shoots out. Now, he found the plates that don't cause the fire, which is great. But halfway through, the back door starts coming, and he's like, I guess I'll just run for it. And he makes it fine.
He jumps.
He pretty much runs because the fire starts. The fire starts happening. So to me, it seems like if he would have just run, he could have made it fine without doing anything. He would have. Maybe he's the fastest man alive. Maybe that's his power.
Then he gets to the third one, and all he has to do is break an hourglass.
Yeah, so anticlimactic.
It was the worst. You're like, axis best, fire second, hourglass garbage. Then he just reaches in there, gets the orb. And then he walks out, and the King of the Thieves is like, you got to give that orb to me because I've been waiting for somebody to get it. And you're like, this schlub is the first guy to get this.
That's what I'm saying.
He's a fucking schlub.
Has nobody else tried? Everyone else has just been like, I don't know, it feels dangerous. I'm not going to do it.
So then Blue Lips shows up, of course, and Blue Lips steals the wizard girl and the map. It's the map and the girl.
And the map. How is he tracking them, Dan?
Who knows?
Okay.
Let's see. So Marina's in. So let's see. Forrest Elf shows up with a bunch of troops. She calls the Empress on the telephone, and they're gonna go find Marina.
Calls her on the telephone.
Didn't she pick up like a little rock and like talks to her through a rock? I think.
Oh no, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Whatever.
You're right.
So stupid. Yeah. So Marina's in jail, and Blue Lip mind flares her to get the information.
I mean, it's the right idea. It's a cool scene, and it uses something that I don't know. I got nothing.
So the thieves, they use a shortcut to catch up to what's his name, even though he's already where he's at, which doesn't make any sense. So they get there, and they're like, "Oh, it's a job for just the thieves." So the thieves go. And then there's a couple beholders.
Is this your nice moment? Is this where they share the hey, be careful?
Yeah. So then they're down in there, and he's like, "You go get the map. I'm gonna get the girl." He's like, "Why do I always have to get the map? You get the girl." And then he bumps his. He's like, "I love you, bro." And he's like, "I love you, bro." And then he bangs his head. It was cute.
I mean, it was. He adds a weird laugh after he says, "You too." He's like, "You too," and then leaves. And I was like, I don't understand the acting choice there. Why is that funny? You're having a heartfelt moment with your best friend in the world, and you just, I don't know. It was very strange.
So now we get another Marlon moment where he gets to play the thief and walk around and be like, "Oh, I'll steal this and I'll steal this." And then he's like, "Oh, that's what I'm looking for." And then he gets caught in the mimic rug, which I loved at first.
Oh, and then fell off.
Then I hated when it was just a fucking bunch of swamp. I mean, I thought the effect was really nice when he was going in initially, and I was like, "Oh, this is great! It's a mimic. It's gonna like then trap him, and he's gonna be caught." But no, it was just like quicksand, and then he's covered in the
was
mimic
it quicksand
stuff.
or was it spaghetti?
It was
because it looked like spaghetti to me.
It's more like oatmeal, but then he's like covered with it the rest of the time, and I'm like, if it was a mimic, he wouldn't be covered in mimic.
It would be gone. Yeah.
So that I have to say that was probably the thing that disappointed me the most in the whole movie.
That's the one thing that you're hanging on to. Hey,
that
good
is
for
the
you.
one thing that disappointed me. I mean, other than Marlon's role in general is the worst thing in the movie, but the mimic was the second.
So you would
thing.
put Snails below Empress?
No, actually, no. I would put the music sound mix.
Sure.
Then Snails. Then the mimic. Empress didn't bug me much because she didn't really do anything. She felt very inconsequential.
She was like cardboard.
See, I get angry about things that are there. I don't get angry about the piece of cardboard that's standing there. It doesn't bother me.
But it's not supposed to be cardboard. That's why I get upset. Okay.
Yeah.
If you're cardboard, but you're supposed to be like a nice concrete wall, I'm going to be upset with you.
Yeah, but
that was a weird analogy. It didn't work.
If you put beholders in a movie and they literally do nothing, that's the same thing. I wasn't angry about the beholders. I was like, well, I guess they didn't do anything. Whatever.
I guess that's wasted. Thanks, guys.
Okay, so he saves Marina. She loves him. Then we had the big Snails versus Blue Lips battle. And then they run outside, and then he's like, give me the thing. I thought he was going to give him the thing, and then he was going to kill Snake. I didn't really think that he wouldn't give him the thing.
That's what should have happened, because they're best friends, and you pick your best friend over the universe every time, Dan.
Save the universe.
But he didn't. He didn't.
Kill him!
But just do it. I don't even care. When Snails dies.
Yeah.
And... what's his name? Clarence. What's the lead guy's name?
Ridley.
Yes. It is. It's like he saw the dailies from Jeremy Irons and was like, I can do better. Give me a shot, guys. He goes so ham in this scene. It's so out of character. Like, he's not this over actor the whole movie. And he just... it is incredible. It's an amazing moment. If you skip the whole movie, just find that scene and watch it. It will make your day. It is wonderful.
What about the idea of naming a character Snails?
It's awful. It's a terrible idea. I don't know why you would ever do it. And I don't even understand. They don't really explain where it comes from. Is that his real name? Or is that like a nickname because he's a very slow thief? Maybe? I don't know.
We don't get any backstory, any understanding of why people are the way they are. So Marina magics the dude, then magics them away from there. Then we have a really nice thing where the Empress gives her speech to the mages. This was pretty terrible. She's just sort of standing there.
Pretty terrible, Dan.
I'm not going to do anything. I'm just leaving. Bye-bye.
Yeah, and here's the thing, is up until this point in the movie, she's been pretty minimal. Like, I'm upset about it because she's just garbage, but she hasn't been in your face for that long. This is a 5-minute speech that she gives. And it is 6 minutes too long. It is horrendous on the act. Like there's no, I don't understand it. There's nothing there. How can you even say words and not emote at all? Like, I don't understand it. Saying certain words just brings out.
Tony, she just showed you how you do that.
I still don't understand it. I saw it firsthand. I don't get it.
It's a masterclass in not emoting.
And then Jeremy, I think the biggest problem is that Jeremy Irons is also giving speeches at that point, and the juxtaposition between the two is too much to handle.
And then she's like, okay, the war begins. So it's like, wait, we're having a war? And we're having a war.
I mean,
I don't understand.
It happens so fast. And then we cut away back to the heroes, and then we cut back a minute later, and we're full in war. Dragons are coming. They're in their different castles. And I was like, whoa, holy cow. I feel like we skipped a lot of story here.
Yeah, now we cut back, and now they've traveled to the magic elf land with the magic tree. Kind of a nice looking magic tree. I was like, okay, it's a good looking magic tree.
Visually, it's fine, yeah.
And then we're doing the elf healing. Do you know who the elf was that was healing him? The king elf?
Is it not Legolas?
No, who the actor was?
No, I didn't.
Tom Baker, Doctor Who. Tom Baker.
Oh, that's
fourth
cool.
Doctor. Yeah, so there's Tom Baker, and you're like, oh, it's Tom Baker. How weird is that?
Is this post Who or pre?
Oh God, yes. So like 20 years post Who. I think.
Oh wow.
I think he was the Doctor in like 78, probably.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, full disclosure, I've never seen an episode of Doctor Who in my life.
Because you're an idiot. And then he gives this whole speech about how the rod's going to destroy the fabric of magic, a thing that never happens, is never addressed, never
doesn't
makes
make any
sense.
Yeah, I have no idea where this came from.
And then we have a scene in the where we're like, oh, this is the Elf City is basically like one small set that looks really cheap. And so they like, I love you, and they do kisses.
Not good kisses.
Oh yeah, we do. Like, we have to do a boohoo politics. I'm through. I quit. I'm quit. And then he's like, but if we make out, then I won't quit.
Which, I mean, to be fair, I get it.
Yeah, I get it too. She's kind of hot.
But they have no chemistry.
No, they have no chemistry.
All of their kisses in this movie are awkward, and I feel bad for both of them. Neither of them want to be doing it, and it just makes for a real weird scene.
Let's see. I think I had something else to say about all this. We had weird background noises during all of this, of course. Yeah, destroy the fabric of magic. Okay. Then we have these two weird characters with these half masks on that give him a sword.
With the paper mache on their faces. Yeah. Yep. We sure do.
And then they give him a sword, and then he's like, they say it does something, and then he leaves, and then they like have like a little couple line, oh, we gave him the sword. Yeah, we gave him the sword. Yeah, we gave him the sword. It was so weird.
And their costumes are so bad, Dan. They're so bad. I don't understand. Why are they even in the movie?
And then we have another thing. It's a bunch of things that I like because they're so terribly weird. Then we cut to Ridley, and he unrolls the map, and he's like, oh, looking at the map, which is like a different map, right?
It is, yeah,
completely totally different map. He rolls it up, and he's like, yep, this is the entrance to the dungeon.
Oh, okay.
What?
Great. I'm so glad it worked out for you guys.
So he walks through, and then they all get stopped by a wall of force. And then the elf is like, I guess he's the one that's supposed to go.
Right. And they're like, okay, bye. See you later.
If you thought the first dungeon was weak, man, when you get to the second dungeon,
it's even worse.
He walks in, there's a bunch of vines. I like the way the vines looked. He's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. He turns to lean against the wall to smoke a cig. He just falls down a pit and gets instantly to where he needs to be.
And then he's fine. Yeah, and then he's good to go. G to G, baby.
And then he susses out he has to put the orb into the dragon's eye to get the door to open.
I imagine, Dan, that it was in the script. It was probably 8 or 9 pages. And they got to that day on filming, and they're like, we are over budget.
No more dungeon.
We have no more time. We need to skip all of this dungeon. Okay, just figure it out. And he's like, okay, I'll just have him fall down a pit, and then he's there. All right, great. Roll camera.
He never retrieves the dragon's orb, right?
Not that I remember.
Okay.
No.
I
wrote that down as well.
Double check, because we have the orb later on in the thing.
Yep, we sure do.
He doesn't steal anything. You know, it's like this dude does all this stuff to get the thing. All this other stuff he could steal. He then re-steals the orb. For what reason? It was only there for one, whatever. So, treasure vault, he pours one out for snails. Oh, I'm going to steal. Oh, it's just gold. Snails would have liked it here.
It's just endless gold that no one will miss. I should leave it as it is. I'm not even a thief, and I'd be like, I'll take 2 handfuls. That's all I need.
So now he has the great face-off with Surveil the Lich. I assume he's a lich. What does he do? The Surveil, the guy, the skeleton that's holding the rod.
No, yeah.
What does he have to do to get through Surveil?
Doesn't he just ask nicely?
He just sort
from
of.
What I can
he doesn't
tell?
even really ask nicely. He just sort of takes it from it.
Well,
we sort of set up that something is going to happen. He's going to have to do something. And he's just
Well,
like,
he's
give me
the
that.
the skeleton's like, only the worthy can take the thing, and then do you think you're that man? And he's like, I don't think anyone's that man. And then he takes it. So easy peasy lemon squeezy, baby.
Now we're gonna get to
I
the part. What?
I just love that it's literally just like, you remember back in high school where you had that skeleton in the corner hanging on like a metal chain so you can do the anatomy. That's what this guy is. They just took it from their high school chem class, brought it over.
Except it
looks ridiculous.
The head looks like shit, and then when he takes the thing, the head just sort of falls over. Thanks for killing me.
So 10 out of 10, man. That's great stuff.
Here's the one thing I liked in the movie: the wall painting of the Dragon War.
Sure, yeah, it's beautiful.
Beautiful.
I don't think they made it. I think that's something they just found and were like, we should put this in the movie.
But the thing about it that didn't make any sense is it seemed to be two different wizards on the two things. And they didn't show it to us very well. And I thought it was going to be a big clue to how they solved the fucking movie. I was like, here's the big clue as to how we solved the movie.
Not even a little bit.
Fuck no.
That's what I'm telling you. I don't think it's made for the movie. I think this is something that they found, and they're like, this is beautiful. Let's put this in there.
So they have one wizard on one cloud, one wizard on the other cloud, and then in the middle, the dragons are battling, except all the dragons are red dragons battling.
So let's take a second and talk about the dragons real quickly. So you have red dragons.
Yep.
You have gold dragons.
Yep.
I don't know if you have other dragons.
In this universe, who knows?
Right. What is the difference between the dragons?
You mean in D&D?
I'm sure in D&D, in this movie, either one.
I don't remember what gold dragons breathe, but that was always the key to every dragon has different stats. Like the
right.
I think green dragons breathe acid. Red dragons breathe fire. Black dragons breathe maybe lightning.
Oh, that's fun.
I don't remember what gold dragons breathe, but that was the whole thing.
But not in this movie. Is what I'm saying. No. Is that there's no ostensibly there's no difference between the two dragons other than one is controlled by one rock and then the others are controlled by a different rod. Got to get that rod.
You got to hold your rod and you got to take control, Tony. Sometimes you got to stroke your rod to get the dragon control going. But you got to hold your rod. You got to have a firm grip on the rod.
So much rod talking.
I mean, it might not be your rod. It might be his rod. You might have to try to take Jeremy Irons' rod in your hand.
Yeah, you got to take the rod from him,
you got to take his rod
really get that rod.
Jesus Christ. Okay, so he's got the rod. He comes out. Blue Lips has all his guys. Why is he carrying that little lunchbox?
I have absolutely no idea. I don't know what's in it.
Did he go in with that lunchbox?
I don't think so. Like I don't know. I don't really remember, if I'm being honest. I have no idea.
He's got this little lunchbox, and then when the battle begins, this is what he does. He goes like this with the lunchbox. He throws it.
Because he doesn't need it. He's like, well, I guess I'm not eating lunch today.
So they, he gives him the rod. Oh, I'm going to let your friends go. Oh, I didn't let your friends go. And then everybody's like, break free, battle, battle, battle. And then the bad guy opens a portal and just leaves. And then Ridley follows him through the portal, but doesn't really.
In the same portal. It's very important, guys.
But he shows up 5 minutes later. So
I just get a kick out of it. There's a whole conversation on the other side of the portal that happens, and then the bad guys leave, and then Ridley's portal opens up. It's the same portal. This is nonsense.
Oh, actually, I'm sorry. Before we did all that, the war begins. The gold dragons attack, and so then they attack for a little while, and then she calls them back, and you're like, I don't know, did she change her mind? But the truth of the matter is, she wanted to mount one of the dragons so she could be part of the battle. We don't see that. We don't have that explained, but that's what happened.
Yeah.
So now Profion gets the rod, and the dude's like, take the Mind Flayer out of my thing. And he zaps him, and we're thinking, oh, he's just going to kill him. But he did take the Mind Flayer out of his head.
Yep, nope, he just fixed him.
He actually fixed him.
He did exactly what he said, and it was very nice. Very nice of him.
But they don't really, even give him credit. It was, really weird.
There's no moment of recognition where Blue Lips is like, whoa, thanks, boss. I appreciate you not just murdering me.
Because we all thought he was going to do your classic villain thing, which is just murder your henchman because you're an asshole.
I think Blue Lips thought that too.
Yeah, he thought it too.
Because he's like, rah, 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 and then he's like, oh, I'm fine. Nothing. No moment of recognition at all.
Thanks, bro. So now we have Ridley versus Blue Lips, because Ridley, who is the thief, is also like master swordsman of everything. Swordsman.
I feel like we didn't see it at all in the movie until this moment. And I was like, wait, what? Where did this come from?
We see it a lot at this moment. So they battle, and then Ridley does like parkour and comes behind him and then stabs him in the back.
Yeah, like a sweet little flip, and then somehow throws this giant human off a fucking ledge.
I like that he stabbed him in the back. That's the way thieves, 2 or 3 times damage if they stab you from the back. Thank you. And then the whole girl shows up with the team, and the team gets thrown around by Profion. And then Profion like sets the rod down at some point, and so Ridley picks it up, and he's like, "I'm in control of the dragons." Yeah. And then he gets like the grimacy face, like Then he realizes it, and he throws it around the ground and breaks the crystal. We're like, "Wow, you just figured that out, dumb fuck."
Yeah, you stupid idiot.
You could have done. You could have just broken that when you're in the treasure vault. Solve the problem.
Yeah, movie's over an hour ago. Thank God. I still don't quite understand how he got the rod.
What do you mean?
I feel like I missed the point where it changed hands from Jeremy Irons to Clarence. I feel like I missed that.
I'm sure at some point when they're attacking him, he drops it or something. I did not pay.
It feels like that's the one thing you wouldn't want to drop.
The one thing in these kind of movies I find is that I'm so exhausted from them at this point. I really have stopped paying much attention.
I mean, you're right about that. That's 100% accurate.
So that happens. Then Jeremy conjures a skeleton dragon to stand on the Empress.
Is that what's happening? I wrote, this is what I have no idea what's happening in this scene. So he's upset, throws a skeleton that just sits on the Empress. The Empress then is hurting, and she can't get. She's I can't get up, and I don't know why, because the thing's not even moving. The thing's just on her. I think it's like a picture, like a JPEG. It's just sitting there, and it's not moving at all. And she's like, I can't get up. I don't even know what's going on. It's not like clawing at her. It's not doing anything. It's just bones. She should be able to just get off me, guy. I don't know. I'm so confused.
So then she just calls a dragon over, and it like eats Jeremy, because like what you just said. I was not looking when he got eaten, so I wasn't even quite sure he got eaten.
Oh, he got eaten.
People of Ismar, we're all equal. Let's celebrate. Then we go to Snail's grave, and he gives. This is the weirdest part of the movie. He gives like a speech, and he's like, they've written Snail's name on a rock. Tony, I demand like a parade, like years of mourning when I'm dead. I demand a lot more than my name on a rock and a pile of fucking rocks in the middle of fucking forest.
And that's my problem here. Listen, I feel like maybe this is how they used to do graves. I don't know for sure, but that is not going to last very long. It's a pile of 7 rocks. A deer's just going to come by and knock that over by nightfall. Like, I don't understand how this is your solution.
Kids are going to pick up that rock and have rock fights with it.
They're just going to throw them around, maybe skip them on some water, have a great time.
So he's like, oh man, I don't got a lot of time because I got to go to my knighting ceremony. They got to proclaim me Ridley the Savior.
Ooh. Yeah.
The Savior.
No thanks, guy.
This schlub, the Savior.
It's son of a bitch.
And so then he puts the dragon's orb down there, and Snail's name disappears from the rock. And then they pick up the thing, and the elf tracker's like, he's in a different mysterious place. And then they all put their hands on the rock, and then they all turn into blue spirit lights and fly away.
Can I ask you a
End
question?
of the movie.
Dan, I need to ask you a question.
What the hell?
Is this mass suicide at the end? because that's what I got from this. They were like, you know what?
This world's
Fuck
not
it.
worth living in.
Let's go to the afterlife with snails, our best friend, and they all do it together. And I was like, well, that's cute. That's bittersweet.
We all killed ourselves. It's like a pile of bodies there at the end.
What a nonsensical ending. I don't understand.
I guess maybe they were going to go to one of the outer planes and try and save him. I don't know.
I don't know, man.
No
it's
idea.
Dumb. Real dumb.
But I like the painting of the dragons in the tomb.
It's great. It's great. It's very nice. And that's about it. That's about it.
That is about it.
Listen, I had a good time with this movie. It's very bad. It's very dumb. The acting is atrocious top to bottom, but for very different reasons. And I think that's why I enjoyed it. Is like some people are on one side of the spectrum. Jeremy Irons just going full ham, giving 170%. And then you got Thora Birch doing nothing. You got Wayne's brother over here just like fucking around. Can't nail down human. What a hodgepodge mess. I don't know, man. This was fun.
The
I had a good
dwarf
time.
being like, dwarves hate horses.
I don't want to listen. I don't know how tall dwarves are in D&D, but he was almost a regular. Like he was as tall as everybody else. I felt like.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know. I don't know how the rules work.
But he had a red beard.
He did. That's true. But he was bald. So.
And he said that the female dwarves have beards and you grab onto them when you're having sex.
Oh, that we skipped over that weird horny scene. What a strange moment. I wrote this down and we skated right by it. Why was he so horny in that scene, Dan? He grab on him. It was the most bananas thing I've ever seen. He's humping the air. I was taken aback. I didn't understand.
I would definitely put this in the whole. This is probably a movie you could watch and have fun with. You know.
Yes, I did. I had a great time with it.
It was, it's always sort of odious when you go through one of these movies the first time. Because you're just like, I got to get through this.
Yeah.
What the fridge is happening here? And, oh my God, here comes Blue Lips. Here comes this. Here comes that. You're like, oh God, please not the Mages Council again. Here. But then when you start thinking back on it, you're like, okay, there's just so many weird things.
It's just bananas.
Marlon hitting on the other elf. Hey, baby, what's going on? Just like,
he's just so not charming in this movie at all. It's bizarre. It's a great time. The only other thing I read, I did read something, Dan. Ooh. I read this article. I have it pulled up. Things you didn't know about the Dungeons and Dragons movie. First of all, there's an alternate ending where they don't go to a magical plane. So Good. That makes sense. He just gives like a nice speech and then they walk away from the grave.
Makes a lot of sense.
So much more sense. But the other thing in this is that supposedly, again, everything I read on the internet, I take verbatim, definitely true. The only reason Jeremy Irons took this is because he was having trouble paying for renovations on his castle.
I am sure that's absolutely
true. So he took this movie to pay for the renovations.
And when we get to my movie, we're gonna talk about a little bit about that. And we'll probably talk about it more next week when we do my movie.
Lovely.
Because
I love it.
I think it's one of those situations also.
Great. I hope so. But he's also the only one trying really hard in this movie. So that's why it's weird. At least he came and gave it his all.
And I'm sure he says that. He's like, I was there. Didn't you see me? I cannot be blamed. So now's the point at which we talk about something we liked this week. We started the Only Murders in the Building. Steve Martin, Martin Short, Selena Gomez.
Is it good? I want to see it so bad.
Is there something better than good?
Yeah, great.
It's great.
I'm so excited.
Selena is a gem. She is just marvelous. She's just so good. Just so self-aware, such, just really great. And I mean, the funny thing is she's like the best actress in this thing. You know, Steve Martin's not a great actor.
I mean, that's true, but he's very funny. Is he funny in this?
He's great. And when you get to the third episode is just so great. I mean, the first two are great too, but they really hit it. By the third episode, you're like, okay, we're there. Yeah, so it's beyond worth it, and just the cameos are incredible, and just like I love it. I'm so excited for every week. You know, every Tuesday it's going to be a new one. So.
Oh, it's releasing one at a time, like television.
They gave you 3 up front, which I think is the smartest model I've ever heard. Give you 3 up front to suck you in, and then you're like, I need more.
Got it.
You know, as opposed to I will give you all of it, because I watched that clickbait show too.
Oh, how's that?
I liked it. I thought it was really interesting. I thought it was really interesting format. You know, I thought how they did it was really, each one was like a different character, but they keep weaving the main story in there too. And so it really dealt with a lot of, it just sort of dealt with all these different aspects of internet culture. And I mean, it is the best show that integrates the internet and phones and the roles they play in our lives in a show I've ever seen. Because there is never a point at which a character isn't using a phone to access information or to get information or to be affected, because that is how our lives are. Period.
No.
Yeah, so it's really fun.
That's not right.
I liked it. I mean, you know, is it like Murders in the Building? No. You know, would you want to go back to it? No, but I'm going to rewatch episode 3 of Murders in the Building probably today because I liked it so much. Which is
great.
Very rare for me.
I love that.
I rewatched the whole of The Hunt the other day too, by the way.
Did you really?
I love that movie. I love everything about that movie. Huh. She's Betty, what's her name? Betty Gilpin. She's just a marvel in that movie. I mean, I don't know that everybody else is going to think this, but I just love all the little, and like there's one scene at the end where she does a little thing. And I was watching one of the interviews and she's talking about it. She came up with it. And I was just like, thank you. That's so cool. It's so nice. You know, I mean, good. As a writer, I love to write stuff, but it's like, it's so great when an actor like understands who the character is and can do something that's like really internal and primordial. And she does that all through the movie. So what do you got for us, Tony?
Well, I've got two things, and neither of them are really what we do here. But I just want to. I think I've already shouted this out once, but it's been a year, so I'm going to do it again. We rewatched the television show Gallivant this week, just to cheer ourselves up. It was a musical high fantasy show, and it's it's a 10 out of 10, like through and through. It's one of my favorite shows. It's sadly cut down before its time. Got canceled after 2 seasons. Rough. It was critically acclaimed. It's got like 90% both audience and reviewers on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, people loved it, just not enough people. You know, the ratings were low, but people that saw it loved it. Anyhow, we rewatch it. It's great. The other thing I want to shout out is Rob Huns, who is the gentleman who does our theme music on this show. He released a new single on SoundCloud. Check it out. Go support him, guys. He's fantastic. And I don't think I've ever shouted him out. So.
No, you haven't.
It only took 57 weeks.
57 weeks, we're getting around to it. We'll talk about him again in 2.5 years.
Yeah, good stuff.
So we're starting Halloween. We're starting the month of October. Shocktober.
That's time of the year, guys.
And so we're going to be picking horror, monster, Halloween-y type movies.
Yes, I cannot wait.
Well, so I thought we should go to one of the most classic Halloween franchises of all time.
Oh, okay.
All about the undead coming back to the life for vengeance.
Oh, yes.
But I'm going to start with the 4th installment of this
franchise.
Because why should we go to those other ones when you can go right to the core of the franchise?
Right to the good stuff.
Right when the franchise is hitting its stride. 4.
Love it.
Those are usually the ones where they've really figured it all out and they're giving the fans exactly what they want.
Mm.
So we're going to the franchise of The Crow.
Oh, okay.
The Crow, Wicked Prayer, 2005.
Oh, that's a great name.
Edward Furlong as the Crow.
I didn't know that.
Who are the bad guys? David Boreanaz as the main bad guy. And who's his sidekick? Tara Reid.
Oh, wait.
And who else is in there to add even more flavor? You know who it is. Dennis Hopper.
What are you talking about? This can't be real, Dan.
This is real. This is 2005's The Crow Wicked Prayer, the 4th in the Crow series.
Wicked Prayer. I've never seen past the first.
And I mean, I was talking to my buddy Todd about it, and it's like, you know, the case is the dude who made the comic owns the rights, I would bet. And so, like the first one, I'm sure he made a lot of money. I'm sure he made $1 million, multi-million, whatever. Made great money off that. But each successive Crow one, a little less money, probably a lot less money. But like if you own that franchise and somebody comes to you and says, "I give you $100,000 to make the Crow 4 or whatever the number is,"
sure,
you're gonna say yes. Why would you not say yes?
Yeah, I don't give a shit. Do whatever you want.
So
give me my money.
You end up with a made-for-TV movie, The Crow, which comes out in theaters and stars Edward Furlong, David Boreanaz, Tara Reid, and Dennis Hopper.
It's been a while since we had a Tara Reid flick. I'm excited.
I know. I'm excited.
Welcome back to the podcast, Tara Reid.
Always. So that's how we're going to kick off Halloween month, and I think it'll be a good way to be kicked.
Amen. I'm ready, man.
The third Crow movie you can't even get. Not even available on Amazon Prime.
I wonder why. What happened to that one?
It has somebody weird in it too. I was like, ooh. So that has been Hate Watching with Dan and Tony. If you like what you see, subscribe, leave a comment, leave us a thumbs up, because we average about 15 views on this thing, so 16 views is an improvement.
But 20 is too many, so don't tell anybody about it.
Shh, on the down. Keep it on the down.
It's a secret club.
I'm always amazed at these other guys that do the movie shows that get like a million views. Are there really a million people that watch these shows?
I think that there are, and here's the difference: is that they're funny and interesting, Dan. And you got me on the show. Real detriment.
I'm choking to death.
Are you drinking coffee? I didn't bring this up. You got a nice coffee cup.
I've been using these same cups for probably the last 4 months, but you're just noticing.
That's why you're choking.
I put the last little bit of water and it went right down into my lungs. So this may be the end of me. It might be Undead Dan next week.
All right. Next week, I'm going to get a new co-host. Or I guess host. I'm the co-host.
Same host, but he's dead.
He's dead. So maybe he'll be a little more lively. That was a good joke.
No, it's not.
I didn't even write that one, Dan. Beforehand.
Oh, I see. Not the typical Tony. I've written. I took some notes on the movie, but I also wrote myself some jokes.
You got to write yourself some jokes. This one completely improvised. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. So I have been Dan.
I've been Tony.
And maybe we'll see you next week.
Goodbye, everybody.
Hey, watch it!